Beyond the jump scares and jack-o'-lanterns lies a heartbeat, the pulse of true horror. We follow the rhythm back to its makers. This is Working the Fright Shift.
Clock into Working the Fright Shift, the gateway between imagination and fear, with your host, Ted Doherty.
Hey everybody, welcome to Working the Fright Shift. I'm your host, Ted Doherty, and my guests tonight are none other than Xochilt Khoury and Taylor Scott of Haunt Comp, the haunted house design competition that draws participants from around the entire planet. But first, I'll lead you into the darkness myself inside this week's Horror Blueprint.
The Horror Blueprint, the art behind the fear.
Tonight's subject is none other than the legendary rock icon himself, Alice Cooper, the man who turned rock concerts into haunted houses. Born Vincent Damon Furnier in Detroit in 1948, Alice Cooper is hailed as the godfather of shock rock. His career spans over 5 decades with more than 30 albums and 50 million records sold. As biographer Patricia Bauer notes, he pioneered a theatrical form of heavy metal performance that fused onstage horror dramatics with a raw, dynamic sound. Alice's journey began in Phoenix, Arizona with a high school band called the Earwigs. Their Beatles parody act revealed that audiences loved spectacle as much as sound. By the late 1960s, the band, renamed Alice Cooper, was shocking audiences with snakes, fake blood, and mock executions. But why horror? Cooper once explained that rock was already rebellious, but horror gave it visual rebellion. And here's the quote that I think really sums up his philosophy. Rock needed a villain. I decided to be that villain. He wanted audiences to feel something visceral, laughter, shock, and he knew horror could deliver that in massive ways. His horror-inspired catalog is astronomical. Welcome to My Nightmare from 1975 was a concept album that played like a haunted night terror, including horror icon Vincent Price as narrator. Later on came Teenage Frankenstein in the 1980s, a campy anthem of monstrous adolescence. And these are just a couple. He's got tons of horror-related content throughout his massive catalog. But although he kind of played this villain, he knew how to reach the masses. Cooper appeared on The Muppet Show in 1976, singing about nightmares to a family audience. As one critic wrote, only Alice could make demons dance with puppets and still be charming. Alice's concerts aren't just shows, they're horror plays disguised as rock gigs. Imagine walking into a venue and seeing a full-size guillotine where Alice is beheaded mid-song, or boa constrictors slithering across his shoulders as he sings, a straitjacket escape routine with nurses dragging him across the stage, baby dolls being stabbed or mutilated in surreal, tongue-in-cheek skits, or a giant Frankenstein monster lumbering around the stage during Feed My Frankenstein. Music journalist Wade Waino observed Alice Cooper's blend of hard rock with horror theatrics influenced countless artists and set the standard for shock rock. These weren't gimmicks. They were carefully staged horror vignettes designed to make audiences gasp, laugh, and cheer all at once. Now, we have to talk about some of his career highlights. You can't mention Alice without School's Out. That anthem became a generational rallying cry, blasting from radios every June as kids celebrated freedom. Then there's I'm 18, which captured teenage angst so perfectly that even critics admitted it was raw truth wrapped in distortion. Fast forward to the 1980s, Alice reinvented himself in the MTV era. Songs like Poison became staples of the video age, proving that he could adapt to new platforms while keeping his horror edge. And who can forget his cameo in Wayne's World. That "we're not worthy" scene cemented him as both a rock legend and a pop culture icon. By 2011, at long last, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame finally inducted him, recognizing decades of innovation. And beyond music, he became a household name through appearances on shows like Hollywood Squares, where his wit and charm surprised audiences who expected only the dark side of things. Alice didn't just sing nightmares. He led guests inside of them. In 1999, Six Flags Fright Fest introduced Alice Cooper's Brutal Planet haunted houses at 18 parks like Magic Mountain, Great Adventure, and Over Texas. And this is all outlined in articles inside Fangoria magazine. Guests walked through dystopian industrial landscapes inspired by his Brutal Planet album, rusted steel corridors, mannequins in gas masks, torture chambers with animatronic victims, and Alice's music pounding through the walls. Scenes included a Hell's Kitchen where grotesque chefs served human body parts, and a torture chamber with electric chairs sparking as guests passed by. Then came Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights. In 2011, Hollywood debuted Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare. Creative director John Murdy explained, "We wanted guests to literally walk through the twisted mind of Alice Cooper. Razor-sharp guillotines, electric chairs, boa constrictors, demonic dolls. It was his nightmare made real." Guests encountered surreal hospital wards, giant spiders, and the recurring character Steven, trapped in his own madness. Steven was the main character in the Welcome to My Nightmare concept album. In 2012, Hollywood added Alice Cooper Goes to Hell 3D, where guests faced the 7 deadly sins in a neon maze filled with killer artwork taking place inside of a Carnival Dark ride. Orlando reprised Welcome to My Nightmare that same year, letting East Coast fans step into Alice's nightmare. And these weren't just haunted houses. They were rock operas of fear, blending music and horror into living nightmares. Now, Alice Cooper didn't just play rock. He rewrote its DNA with horror. From shocking audiences in the 1970s to reinventing himself in the MTV era, from Six Flags' Brutal Planet to Universal's Halloween Horror Nights, he proved that fear and fun can coexist. But here's the twist. Offstage, Alice is far from the villain he plays. He's deeply committed to charity, founding the Solid Rock Foundation in Phoenix, which provides free music, dance, and art programs for at-risk youth. He has raised millions of dollars through benefit concerts and community outreach, showing that the man who sings about nightmares is equally passionate about building dreams for young people. And then, of course, there is golf. Alice is famously an avid golfer, often playing 6 days a week. He said that golf helped him overcome alcoholism, giving him discipline and focus. As he once stated, "Some people turn to drugs, some people turn to alcohol. I turned to golf." It's a reminder that behind the guillotines and boa constrictors is a man who finds peace on the fairway. His influence, though, stretches far beyond his own career. Acts like Kiss, Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie, and even theatrical performers like Lady Gaga have cited Alice Cooper as a blueprint for blending music with spectacle. Heavy metal bands like Slipknot carried forward his fusion of horror and rock, while younger shock rockers like Ghost continue to build on the stagecraft he pioneered. And we can't forget his work with the Hollywood Vampires, the supergroup he co-founded with Johnny Depp and Joe Perry of Aerosmith. Named after the infamous drinking club Cooper led in the 1970s, the band celebrates rock legends by covering songs from fallen icons like David Bowie, The Who, Led Zeppelin, while also releasing original material. It's another example of Alice honoring the past while keeping rock's theatrical spirit alive. So when we talk about Alice Cooper's legacy, It's not just about the horror theatrics or the shock rock anthems. It's about a man who balanced darkness with light, who gave back to his community, who found serenity in golf, and who inspired generations of artists to embrace the theatrical and the terrifying. His impact on Halloween, horror, and rock is undeniable, and his humanity makes that impact even more profound. Alice Cooper, without question, is the very definition of the music, scary theatrics, and terrifying concepts, all found deep within the horror blueprint. Now that the horror blueprint has peeled back the layers of fear, it's time to shift the spotlight to the creators who are shaping the future of the haunt world in real time. We're going to talk about something named Haunt Comp. For anybody unfamiliar, Haunt Comp is a global haunted house design competition that invites creators from students and beyond to dream big, push boundaries, and showcase what the future of immersive horror can look like. Over the years, it's grown in scale and ambition, supported by incredible sponsors like Midsummer Scream, 13th Floor Entertainment Group, Not Scary Farm, and many more who believe in nurturing the next wave of talent. So today's fear architects are two representatives of Haunt Comp, but they are people who mean a great deal to me personally and professionally. Not only have I had the honor of serving as a judge for many years for Haunt Comp, but I'm proud to say that both of these people are former students of mine. Watching them grow from passionate, curious creators into industry professionals and now carrying the torch for the next generation has been one of the great joys of my career. We have Xochilt Khoury, executive producer and co-founder of Haunt Comp, and Taylor Scott, executive producer of Haunt Comp, and each have carved out impressive paths in the themed entertainment industry. Xochi and Taylor have turned Haunt Comp into a massive platform. We get to explore how it all began, how it evolved, and where it's headed next. In my eyes, these are two true fear architects.
Fear architects, crafting worlds of terror.
Welcome to Working the Fright Shift, Xochi and Taylor. Haunt Comp, thank you so much for doing this. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thank you for having us.
Good.
Yeah.
Xochi, are you doing okay?
Yes, just got home from work, but yes.
Okay, good. Well, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this right after work, Xochi, right after work, Taylor. So thank you so much. We'll dive into it. I have questions for you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Okay, Xochi, I'm going to start with you first, okay? But this is a question for the two of you. What are your earliest memories of Halloween or horror, the ones that felt magical or maybe even a little too intense at the time?
I think for me, it's a little weird because I was afraid of everything as a child. My first encounter that I can remember as a kid trick-or-treating was a guy jumping out of an alley with a chainsaw, and I was like 4 or 5, and I wouldn't trick-or-treat after that for years. I was just so afraid of all of that stuff. So it took a while for it to actually feel magical for me. Honestly, I use a lot of that now when I'm thinking about like what scared me then versus like why doesn't it scare me now. It's like the idea of people being able to get like that close to you with these things that you don't know what they're going to do with, like that always frightened me.
That's okay. I'm glad you battled that fear. Taylor, what about you?
Yeah, I have vague memories of like trick-or-treating when I was younger, but I think my first strongest memory of anything Halloween horror related was the first scary movie I ever watched, which was Scream. I think I was 8 or 9 at the time and terrified when I started watching it, but it to this day is still one of my favorite scary movies of all time. And it was a really fun kind of like first introduction into the genre because such a big part of that movie is all of the scary movie tropes, like don't go anywhere by yourself, don't go anywhere, and tell people you'll be right back, all of that stuff. So that was a fun kind of way to get into the genre. And then every movie I watched after that being like, oh, I remember when they talked about that and that. So it was a fun, it's a fun movie, and I still thoroughly love every single one of them.
I do too. Now, Taylor, was there a moment when you realized, wait a minute, I love being scared, or I want to make other people feel this way? And if so, what were those moments?
Yeah, I have a super clear one for this, but it was the very first time I ever went to Not Scary Farm. I was maybe a year older than I was when I first watched Scream, but first maze I ever went into anywhere was Doll Factory. And I remember I went through with my dad and I didn't see a single thing the first time I went through. My head was in his shoulder. I just heard screaming. I heard music and I was like, absolutely not. This is way too much. I should have never done this. I got out and he turned around and was like, you got to try. At least see if you like it. You have to look, make an attempt. And I was like, okay. So I took a deep breath. We did it one more time. And by the time I got out, I was like, oh, I love this. This is so cool. I was still terrified, but it was so fun actually seeing everything for the first time. The set design, the monsters, seeing other people's reactions too in front of us and behind us, just how much fun people were having, even when they were scared, and seeing kind of how all of the environment and everything brought that together. And I've been hooked ever since.
Wonderful to hear that. Now, Xochi, what about you? Once you started braving the scary stuff, when was there a moment that you thought, wait a minute, I actually kind of love this?
I think for me it was high school. I live very close to Universal Studios, and my friends were like, "We should go to Halloween Horror Nights," and I didn't really understand the concept of it or why we would go. I remember going through a couple mazes, like just hiding in my friend's back because I was just terrified. When I finally like lifted my head up, just like seeing like the different sets, but also like the different scares that were getting my friends and how we were just all having a good time and like a safe environment. It was that kind of changed my like perspective on liking that kind of stuff. But like getting to the like, oh, I want to make other people feel this way. It's kind of similar to Taylor. It was the first time I went to Not Scary Farm in 2019, 2018. I was really afraid to go, and my co-director on the maze we just built was like, no, no, let's just go. Let's try it out. It's a TEA event. Like, let's check it out. And we did Paranormal Incorporated first, and that pre-show just like changed my perspective completely on what these events were, what they could be. Like I was just in awe about the different effects, dividing the people out. Like I just remember sitting there like with my jaw like on the floor, my friend pulled me through, being like, "We have to move, we have to move."
Thanks for sharing that, Xochi. And by the way, Xochi is referring to the TEA, which is the Themed Entertainment Association. And also, Xochi referenced a haunt that she was actually working on at that time. So let's talk a little bit about that. At your time at UC San Diego, you participated in building a haunted house there. What did that project entail, and what did you learn from creating something at that scale for the first time?
So that project was very unique in the sense that like we actually had funding from the school. Our themed entertainment club had just started, and our president went to the people who usually run the maze that run events for UC San Diego and said, "Hey, we'll design your maze for you if you give us the budget." And they said, "Okay," and gave us the $16,000 budget to execute a haunt in the gym for one night for both students and for a friends and family event that was happening that weekend. And I was really new to the club at the time, and Nick came to me, he was the president at the time, and said, "You're gonna be the project manager and creative director for this with Robbie." And I was like, "No, I'm okay." We'll be like, "No, this is your role. You have to do it." And I was terrified because I'd never done something like that before. But we worked for 8 months to we did a haunted hotel where every room had a different fear. We had a little pre-show as well where we were in the elevator getting transported through the hotel, and we had a night to set it up, run it, and take it down. So everything was, after we had the script written, it was all just like getting props and prepping it and leaving it in my apartment, on my balcony, wherever we could on campus where people would let us store things. My poor roommates at the time helping us to get through it. And at the end of the day, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but we ended up breaking a record for attendance for that maze, for that event, and we held that record. Even though I worked on two more mazes after that, we ended up holding that record.
What a wonderful opportunity. Thanks for sharing that. Now, Taylor, real quick, can you just talk a little bit about your education? What's your degree in and where'd you go to school?
Yeah, my degree is a little not very related to the themed entertainment space, but I have a degree in astrophysics from UCLA. I also have a minor in theater, so sort of tangentially related, but I went to a performing arts high school also, so I've kind of always been interested in theater, themed entertainment, and things like that. But I also was part of the TEA chapter at UCLA too. I was the president for the last year that I was there, and we did a lot of spooky related things there too, but nothing nearly as cool as what Soch did down at UCSD.
Well, Xochi, what was your degree in?
My degree was in speculative design with a focus in media, and then I also studied theater as my minor.
Well, and the reason I'm asking those questions is just for folks listening. We know you can't major in haunting, but people carve out their own path and find a way to make it happen. Now, both of you have now spent time professionally working in the themed entertainment industry. What has that journey been like for you, and how has it shaped your approach to storytelling and design? Taylor, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so I've done a couple different things. Still work at Midsummer Scream, which was kind of like my first introduction into it, working as the talent manager. And then I worked at Scary Farm for a while, also worked with you, Ted, at Plague.
Mhm.
And I think a really big thing I kind of want to touch specifically on like doing the operations part of Scary Farm, but I think just of how in order to make a haunt or any kind of themed attraction work, how much operations and narrative and design are really tied together. You're never going to get a haunt that is perfect if the story is off, but the throughput is incredible, or the throughput is terrible, but the story is amazing. Both of those things have to work together so like perfectly in order to make the perfect experience for guests. And like having that happen on like the Saturday night before Halloween, which was like the craziest night at all haunts. Seeing the lines being like an hour plus the entire night, but still being able to see that for the mazes going through, like we were able to get the right sets of people through the right amount of groups, and people are still able to enjoy the amazing stories that were getting put through. Like just how much they do really work together when you're working on the back end of that stuff was really cool to see and experience.
I love hearing it, Taylor. Thank you. Zochi, what about you?
So I started in themed entertainment like right after working in entertainment for a bit. I had done a few internships with Warner Brothers and Lionsgate in the entertainment space, and then like slowly transitioned to the themed entertainment space. But I graduated in 2021, which was right after lockdown had started to get lifted, and so the industry wasn't doing super great.
Mhm.
And I was always told, "Oh, you're going to be fine finding a job. You have the experience. You've been involved in the TEA. Like you'll be fine." But I was having a really hard time finding a job. And one day, my friend from college who I'd worked on the mazes with, Solmar Karen, she called me. She was like, "Hey, I'm working for a company called TechMD right now, and they're looking for an admin assistant. Would you be interested? It's down the street from your house, 2 days a week." And I said, "Sure," and I jumped at it, and I've been there ever since. I got lucky enough to get my foot in the door there and just get to work on in project management on audio, video, and control systems design projects, and gotten to do a lot of different types of things. Like we have do some stuff from museums to theme park attractions. I just finished working on a haunt from the AVCL perspective, which was really cool to get to do that full circle moment because a lot of the professionals on it were actually judges and people who helped build Haunt Comp. So that was a really cool full circle moment. But it really kind of just came down to finding like connections and building connections and just making that grow like to get to the company, but also within the company as well. And so like seeing that stuff from the ABCL side, like that has really helped when I'm writing, like understanding, like thinking about operations, thinking about programming, thinking about those different types of elements that are going to go into making this to kind of make writing a little bit more realistic for me.
Thank you very much, Xochi. And you mentioned Haunt Comp. So let's talk about Haunt Comp. For people who don't know, it's a haunt competition. So, Taylor, I'll start with you. For somebody who has never heard of Haunt Comp, what is it? Who can participate? What kinds of submissions do you typically see?
Yeah, so Haunt Comp is a haunted house design competition. We really strive ourselves in focusing on the educational aspect of things. So there's deliverables every year that all of the teams have to turn in that focus on things like writing, layout, visual development, marketing, operations, all the things that come together in the blue sky phase to make a haunt what it is. And we accept almost anyone. We used to just have it be a limit to college students, but we have over the last couple of years opened it up to anybody that has less than 2 years of experience in like a relevant themed entertainment related field so that we're kind of opening the door to home haunters to even high school teams. We have a plethora of teams from all different colleges that are coming together from different jobs. We have a couple of teams that are full of people from completely different industries, from accounting, from the restaurant industry, that are just bringing a bunch of people together to do something cool. And we do focus on the workshop portion as well, so that if you just love haunted houses, you've been going to haunts forever, and you just even want to just put your toe in the water, we go through all of the workshops to kind of explain to everybody how to do the deliverables, what industry standards are, and things like that. So you can really go in completely blind with no experience and still have a chance of doing really well in the competition because we give you all of the tools that you can to learn about it.
Thanks, Taylor. Now, Xochi, how did the idea first come about? What made you decide that a haunted house design competition needed to exist?
This actually kind of happened a few months after the first maze that we built at UCSD. I was like looking through the competitions that we had competed in and noticed they were all pretty much theme parks centric, except for at the time TEA at UNLV. That school did an escape room design competition, and I competed with Soul, but ended up dropping out. But we watched throughout the day, and our friend, is actually a co-founder of Hot Comp, Matthias, he competed and submitted the only horror concept that was seen, and this was being judged by Egan Escapes, and he ended up winning the competition. And I just remember like hearing Egan talk, but also like seeing what he had designed and thinking back to like Not Scary Farm and what we did with the mazes and being like, what, how do you do that though? Like, how do you learn to make something like that and learn with those types of tools? And so that is where I guess the idea started. We didn't end up running it until 2020. That was our first year. And if people have competed or remember, was like we said, put together a video pitching your maze, and like that was pretty much it. It was just Jared and I trying to figure out how to navigate it. And then the next year when we got Matthias on board, that's when like it actually became Haunt Comp. It was no longer TEA at UCSD's haunted house design competition, but it was now Haunt Comp, and we were trying to bring in the educational aspect so that people didn't feel like they were just thrown in the dark, but also so that they could have deliverables that were similar to what you were going to do with the industry, because that was a problem we were seeing with other competitions. And also just build a community, because there's like a lot of people who are really interested in this type of stuff but just didn't know where to go, who to talk to, aside from like the TEA and Not Scary Farm. That was the only one that people were really knowing about. That's kind of where that came from.
You mentioned a couple of names, so we want to make sure we know who they are. You mentioned Matthias, you mentioned Jared. So these are some of the early pioneers of Haunt Comp, right?
Yes. Yes. Jared, it was just Jared and I the first year when we ran the competition and we're doing I guess the video portion of it. It wasn't until we got Matthias on board the year after where we actually like defined what Punk Up was and like refined like what we were asking of people, what we wanted as an organization, what do we wanted participants to get out of it. Like both of them were really, really pivotal into building it into the massive thing that it is now.
What were some of the original challenges? You could just name a couple because I know there's a handful, but a couple of the challenges that you faced in launching and hosting a competition like this because it hadn't been done before. Were there any unexpected hurdles in those early years?
I think probably the biggest one is just like we were college students making what we wish we had in the
Hmm.
industry. And so we were still ourselves learning about what the industry was. Like, I mean, a lot of what we built was also came from working with you, Ted, and like taking your classes and trying to just understand what it was and trying to help spread that knowledge a little bit. So I would say like we had a lot of passion to do it, a lot of drive to do it, and the means to do it. It was just finding people who had worked on haunts in the industry for years that could help us flush this out in a way that was beneficial for people. Because like we could have just ran something, people would have competed, but we wanted to make sure we did it right. And so like that was the big challenge for us, is just making sure that we were being respectful and paying homage to like what the haunt industry actually was, not using it like haunt comp was not built as a way to elevate ourselves. It was built as a way to elevate a community. And so just making sure that we stay true to that and we're talking to the right people to make that happen.
Thanks for sharing that. I think it's incredible to hear that, you just powered through all of it. I've seen you grow throughout all these years, so it's really incredible. Now, speaking of growth, Taylor, how has the competition grown over the years?
Yeah, I think our growth in participants has definitely been one of the coolest things to see. I started off being involved in Haunt Comp by participating myself, and in the first couple of years of Haunt Comp, I know it was average between like 20-ish teams that would compete, and now over the last couple of years, we've been averaging between 45 to 50 teams competing each year. Again, each year we've had at least one or two international teams. This year we have about four of them. So people competing in the competition from all across the globe. Still a decent amount of college teams. We actually have this year a couple of TEA chapters from different schools that have multiple teams that have submitted just because there's so many people that did want to participate. We also have people, like I said, there's a team full of just architects that have never done anything in the haunt space before, but just really some of them participated last year and really wanted to get involved in it again. And like you said, yeah, we did have the opportunity to do a House of Spooky swap meet last year. So to do some outreach that way. Not Scary Farm has been kind enough to offer our winners and as well as our internal team backstage tours of Scary Farm for the night of lights on tours of some of the mazes and things like that. So it's been wild to see it kind of progress from everybody working on it at home through Zoom over COVID to being able to actually go out and do things. I think one of the coolest things we've been able to do now with the help of one of our sponsors, Midsummer Scream, is they give us stage space at Midsummer to allow our top three teams to present their ideas to other people in the competition, but also anybody at the convention and announce our winners on stage as well too. And we've had a decent amount of our winners actually get jobs in the industry from what they've done in Haunt Comp. So it's been really cool to see how people's involvement in the industry doesn't necessarily just stop from them doing the competition. It kind of can kickstart from doing that. So it's been cool to see how people have been getting involved in different companies and even tangentially in just themed entertainment itself outside of haunts from things that they've submitted portfolio wise from Haunt Comp.
Just incredible. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Well, we know that those wonderful winners, they get their moments in the spotlight. But when you look back across all the submissions, are there any standout entries that still linger in your mind? What makes them unforgettable to you? This is a question for both of you. Xochi, you go first.
There are a few. I think the big thing for me is like just thinking back through a lot of the people who competed and were now like in the industry and seeing where they are now and what they're working on is really cool. There is a team, I can't remember the team number, but they submitted a maze last year that I thought was really unique called Pestilence. And the whole thing that they tried to do was just build a maze off of rats. Like they were incorporating special effects, thinking about how to incorporate like projection, audio, like all these things to make it seem like rats were crawling around you without like actually having rats crawling around you. And to me, that was like a really cool way to touch another sense because like the thought of like we think about bugs crawling on you, but like to think about like rats crawling all over you and seeing them crawling all over somebody like that really freaked me out a bit.
Absolutely. Taylor, what about you?
Yeah, I have two for this because one of them is a team that did win the competition. But first of all, our winners from 2024, their maze was called Damnation of Alexandria. And I think of all the years that I have done Haunt Comp, we our HauntCom team goes through like the teams to judge to get the top 10 to the industry judges where they provide their feedback. And I think that's one of the few years where the entire HauntCom team was pretty unanimous on it has to be them. It was one of the most well-rounded submissions we've ever had. Sometimes we have submissions come in that like the concept art is incredible or the layout is amazing, but this was one of the ones that we got in where just no beats were missed. Every single thing was incredible that they submitted. And if I recall correctly, I think most of the team were scare actors, not even directly working in like the operations or behind the scenes side of the industry. So it was super cool to see from them being on the ground in the venue, just what they were able to come up with. And I'm a sucker for a mythology maze. So that was just so cool to see. But the other one I did want to shout out was a maze. I think that was in the same year as Damnation of Alexandria, but called Backwards House, that we still talk about it to this day to all of our participants, that they submitted a layout that was completely hand drawn and blew out of the water some of the layouts that we've had from people doing it on actual programs. And I think that's just a testament really to what we kind of strive for, like educational wise for Haunt Comp, that we don't expect anybody to be an expert in any portion of the industry. We want you to learn and we want you to grow. And we always emphasize like use what you have, use what skills that you have and what you are an expert in to submit your pieces. And the fact that they did the whole thing hand drawn, hand drafted everything, and it was still that impressive is something we really like emphasize to our teams on every year, that like you can place in the top 10 and win awards for your layouts and things that you do, even if you draw it, hand draw it, because that's what this whole competition is about. It's about education and learning.
Wonderful. It absolutely is. Now, just a couple more quick questions and we'll wrap it up. Generally speaking, no spoilers, but just generally, what does the future of Haunt Comp look like? Are there any new directions or expansions or evolutions that you're excited to explore?
Yeah, without doing too many spoilers, we are a couple of years out, which is so crazy to say out loud, from our 10th year of the competition. So we're already looking towards that, and we have some fun tricks up our sleeve for that we can't really reveal yet. But just continuing our outreach, continuing to develop the prompt. That's one of the things I focus on most in the competition, but always adding to the prompt, changing it, making sure it's to industry standard, but also based on feedback from our participants on things that they often ask to submit that we've never really required. One of our marketing deliverable that has become a permanent fixture of the competition now really came from the participants always wanting to submit extra stuff, talk about like how they could promote their maze, and people turning in really cool things in their presentation portion, that we built it into the competition and people loved it so much that it stays. So really seeing what people like and what they're excited to share about their haunt, and continue to develop the competition that way. But also still working with partners in the industry too and continuing to expand our reach. We're really, really lucky to have amazing sponsors and amazing judges like yourself, Ted, that really make this competition what it is today. So just continuing to get more people from the industry involved, growing the outreach and getting more people to participate is really, really what we're looking for the future.
Well, it's my pleasure. It's an honor to help you all out. How can people find out about Haunt Comp? How do they learn how to participate? Give me the details.
You could find us on Instagram. We put a lot of our updates for social media, actually. So haunt_comp. There's also our website. We try to keep it as up to date as possible and keep like past submissions on there as well. There's just hauntcomp.com.
When can people participate? What are some of the hard deadlines that people should be aware of?
In terms of we're already in the middle of our competition season for 2026, but we tend to always restart the competition around the new year every year. So definitely keeping an eye on our socials around that time, around right before the holidays and a little bit after, we kind of start announcing when everything's going to start. But even throughout the year this year, sometimes some of our workshops are public to people who aren't even competing in the competition. So we will post those as well in case any of our judges do leave them open to the general public. And also, of course, if you are coming to Midsummer Scream, anybody is welcome to come into our awards ceremony in case you want to see what some of the submissions look like before you're deciding whether you want to participate or not. And a lot of our core team is there as well at Midsummer Scream. So you're more than welcome to ask us any questions there or anywhere else that you see us.
Xochi, Taylor, thank you for all that you do for Haunt Comp. I strongly believe that you play a big role in the future of this fun, wacky world of Halloween-themed entertainment. So, Xochilt Taylor, thank you so very much for working the Fright Shift. Thank you again, Xochilt and Taylor, and I hope everybody listening truly appreciates how groundbreaking Haunt Comp is. For those of us who've been in this industry a while, we didn't have anything like it. There was no roadmap, no guide, just trial by fire and on-the-job training. And I could say this from personal experience. I have worked closely and professionally with several past Haunt Comp participants, and their talent is the real deal. So if you want an authentic look at what happens behind the curtain, Haunt Comp is a great place to start. And speaking of behind the scenes, I will now explore how some former experiences shaped my own path into this industry in Echoes of the Past.
Echoes of the Past. The origins of scare experiences.
Tonight, I'm going to focus on something I've been wanting to talk about for a really long time. Because tonight, I honor the scare actors, the monsters in the dark, the shadows in the fog, the heartbeat of every haunted attraction. And to understand who they are today, we have to understand where they came from. Before the huge budget haunts, before the massive theme park events, before the independent haunts around the entire country and beyond, well, a lot of them, for years, well, they were just volunteers. A lot of them would eventually get paid, but a lot of them were volunteers at the beginning. And some of the most influential early scare actors came from haunts like the JCs, the Junior Chamber of Commerce chapters across the United States. In the early 1970s, the JCs were running haunted houses as fundraisers, and they were incredibly successful. I talked a lot about them on a past episode. In 1975, JC leader Tom Hilligoss created and narrated an awesome instructional video to help chapters nationwide improve their haunted houses. In that video, Hilligoss mentioned something staggering. Some JC haunted houses saw up to 40,000 guests in a single season. That's 1975. 40,000 people. 40,000 interactions between guests and the monsters inside. And here's another gem from that same video. One JC chapter actually won a crime prevention award because their haunted house statistically reduced vandalism in their town by 400% during Halloween. As Hilligoss put it, they had all the vandals in their house. That's the power of a haunted house, and that's the power of scare actors. As haunted attractions grew, so did the role of the scare actor. By the later 70s and into the 80s and 90s, haunts were evolving into full-scale productions. Sets became more elaborate, sound design and animatronics became way more sophisticated. But as the industry expanded, one thing remained true. A haunted house, I strongly believe, is only as strong as its cast. You can have the most detailed sets in the world. You can have the most terrifying animatronics. You can have a really cool narrative, a story. You can have fog, lighting, soundscapes, and special effects that rival Hollywood. But if you don't have a strong cast, a cast that knows how to scare and scare safely, how to entertain, how to read a crowd, well, I believe you're going to struggle to thrill your guests. Scare actors, to me, they are the soul of the haunt. And according to a study conducted by Career Builder, haunted house actor topped the list of America's most unusual jobs. That's a testament to just how unique, demanding, and specialized this role really is. It takes a special kind of person to want to scare the living daylights out of strangers for hours on end. In researching this episode, I came across a description that perfectly captures the essence of the role. Haunted house actors, it said, are the spine-tingling heart of horror-themed attractions. Another line described them as performers who embody a wide range of frightening characters, ensuring each guest experiences the thrill of the haunt. And one of my favorites, scare actors need physical stamina, adaptability, and a genuine passion for horror. Those aren't just job requirements. Those are badges of honor, because scare acting is not easy. It's physically demanding, it's emotionally draining, it requires improvisation, timing, and the ability to stay in character even when guests are unpredictable or downright unruly, total complete jerks. I'm censoring myself about those total jerk guests, but you scare actors know exactly what I'm talking about. But yet, scare actors, they show up night after night, ready to give everything they have. And I tell you this from personal experience. I've talked about it a ton. Working as a scare actor at Knott's Scary Farm all those years, that was the best job in the world. But it was also one of the hardest. The physicality alone, the running, the sliding, the crouching, lunging, the constant movement, it's a workout like no other. You're drenched in sweat, your muscles ache, you're probably sleep deprived, mentally exhausted, but still pushing through, because I always felt the guests deserve the best show that I can give them. But the reward? The reward is incredible. The screams, the laughter, the adrenaline, the moments when you know you've created a memory for somebody who will talk about this for years. You're going to be haunting their nightmares for who knows how long. Every attraction I've worked on since, every creative decision I make, it's influenced by those nights that I spent in the fog. The tricks of the trade that I learned from the veterans who came before me. I try to pass those on to the casts that I work with today. Because scare acting is a craft. It's a tradition. It's a legacy. At Knott's Scary Farm, there were scare actors who've been doing this job for over 30 years. 30 years of fog. 30 years of screams. 30 years of bruises, sweat, laughter, friendships, memories. That's not just a job. It's a community. And Knott's isn't alone. Across the country and around the world, scare actors bring haunted attractions to life with the same passion, grit, and dedication. At Universal Studios Singapore, one article I found told the story of the Rosta family, 3 generations of scare actors. They described their auditions, how they have to act, and the overall process of scaring. Meanwhile, at HHN Orlando, former team member Angie Garcia described the intensity of the work. Working Halloween Horror Nights included a lot of blood, guts, sweat, and tears. That's the truth of the job. Raw, physical, but deeply rewarding. At Six Flags New England, scare actor Fahad Ramat explained what separates good scare actors from great ones. The one thing that really differentiates a good scarer from a great scarer is committing to the role. Amen to that, Fahad. I totally agree. And the training philosophy at Six Flags puts it perfectly. If a scare actor fears looking silly, that's how they'll appear. But when they believe they're frightening, they truly are. Another line from the same interview captures the physical reality, just like I mentioned. Beneath the layers of latex and fake blood, scare acting is a gritty, high-energy job that takes more of a toll than you'd think. That's international, people. Every haunt, every cast, every night. And before I move into a final tribute for all this, I want to take just a moment. Please bear with me. This is going to go by super fast, but I just want to take a brief second, but it's an important one, to acknowledge some of the people who shaped me as a scare actor. Because none of us get here alone. We all learn from somebody. We all grow because somebody took the time to show us the ropes, to teach us the tricks, to push us, to inspire us. So this is for the people who helped me as a scare actor along the way at Not Scary Farm. I know I'm not going to hit everybody, but this is what I've got. So this goes out to Spaz, Monstar, Vampire King, Spawn, Kane, Carnage, Spike, Lucifer, Chopper, Fink, Lucky, Otis, the Sheriff, Gecko, Lost Boy, Freak, Angela, Verge, Skittles, Andros, Wolfie, the Monk, Sir Hobbit, Dietz, Izzo, Dusty, the Professor, Christy, Robert, Ed, Jackal, Nelson, Garrett, Hector, Daryl, both Chases, Charlene, Larry, Diane, Paul, Erica, and Gemini. Whew. And far too many more to name in another breath, but I'm forgetting a lot of people. I apologize for that, but I love all of you, and I'm not sure any of these people actually ever even hear this, but I just wanted to put their names out there. I had a lot of friends in all this, but I didn't necessarily scare with all of them the way I did with these people. And above all, a shout out to my boss throughout my time there, Craig Harold, the best boss I ever had, a leader who understood the art of the scare because he was a scare actor in Ghost Town many, many years before I ever even started. He understood the heart of the cast and the magic of the event. These people, every single one of them, made a huge impact on me. They shaped the performer I became. They shaped the creative leader that I am now. And for every scare actor listening to this, I hope you take a moment to think about the people who showed you how to do it. The ones who taught you, pushed you, inspired you, believed in you. Carry those memories with you because they matter. They stay with you long after the fog clears. So tonight, this is my tribute. A tribute to the scare actors who wear the heavy makeup, the masks, the prosthetics, who sweat through thick costumes, who endure aches, pains, bruises, and absolute exhaustion, who deal with the total jerks and still keep their cool, who show up night after night to entertain thousands, who give everything they have to create unforgettable experiences. A tribute to the veterans who've been doing this for decades, to the rookies discovering the magic for the first time, to the families who scare together, to the casts who become families. A tribute to the monsters in the fog, the shadows in the corner, the heartbeat of the haunt. You are the soul of this industry. You are the pulse in the darkness. You are the reason guests scream, laugh, and come back year after year. Your work screams through time, through every scare zone, every maze, every attraction that came before, and every one that will come after. Your screams, your energy, your passion, they roar inside the echoes of the past. And just like that, the lights dim on another shift. Huge thanks to our fear architects, Xochi and Taylor of HauntComp. Within these stories is the blueprint of fear itself, how we face it, how it transforms us, how we create it, and sometimes how it sets us free. If you liked what you heard, do us a favor and tell a friend to tell a friend. Give us a good review, 5 stars, and help spread the word. Thanks for spending your nightmares with us. I'm your host, Ted Doherty. Beast wishes, and until we meet again, it's officially time to clock out of Working the Fright Shift. Working the Fright Shift is written and produced by Ted Doherty. No portion of this recording may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written and express permission of the producer. All opinions expressed in this recording are solely those of the individuals and do not necessarily reflect the views of the producer or affiliates. For more details, visit www.workingthefrightshift.com. Copyright 2026 Ted Doherty. All rights reserved.